You are listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends since first grade, now dads reliving the Disney movies we grew up on with our own kids. I'm JB Wagner.
And I'm Eddie Ferguson. And on today's episode, we float down river to review the Adventures of Huck Finn. But first, JB, I feel like I haven't seen you in a year.
It's been a while.
How's the family?
It's been good. Did you have a good holiday time? I know last time we talked about things we were going to be doing in holidays, but now this is our first recording since our holiday break.
We did. Holidays are always busy. The
Fergusons.
Very festive people. No, it was good. Everybody was together.
Together is good. Together is.
Yeah. We unfortunately missed out on all of Sarah's side of the family because her parents have COVID, and found out like right before Christmas. So we still haven't had the Christmas celebrations with them. So that's really sad and unfortunate. But hopefully something soon as they get better.
Well, Eddie, we have hit with our son, who is now 4 years old. We have hit prime Christmas time. I talked about that before on previous episode about going to see the lights and such. But this has definitely been the year of he knew what he wanted for Christmas. I've heard several other people echo the same thing. Right around the 4 years old is when they start telling you what they want for Christmas. So weeks leading up to Christmas, he came around. I don't know. He's never played Mario in his life, Mario Brothers. He's never played the game, but he saw a Mario at Target and went head over heels for it. Went to another planet. It started with Donkey Kong. There was a little Donkey Kong car, and then he saw Mario, and then I think I might have shown him a video, and then from then on, he's just been Mario. She's been telling, he's like, I'm gonna get Mario for Christmas. Mario track. This like remote control track where Mario and Yoshi just drive around it. He's been telling us for weeks that that's what he's wanted.
Yeah.
I've been like, okay, buddy. Okay, we'll have to see what happens. And we were having what we've been calling it 3 Christmases because we have Christmas with us together, then Christmas when we visited with my family, and then Christmas with my mother-in-law and my wife's side of the family.
Not to be confused with 4 Christmases, the classic Vince Vaughn Christmas movie.
Exactly. So we're gearing up. We're like, okay, what are we going to do about this? We've already bought the things we were going to buy him for Christmas. We got him this train table, and that spent most of our Christmas money on that for him and for his part of it. But then my wife's like, my mom's going to get him the Mario track. Great. Okay. So he's going to get it. Problem is that was coming not on the first Christmas or the second Christmas, but the third Christmas. So the whole time we're like, he's like, I want to get Mario track. It didn't go like, I want Mario track to when am I going to get the Mario track? And
give me Mario
track. I'm like, you will have to see. We got 3 Christmases, buddy. We gotta wait. So the first one, no Mario track. Second one, no Mario track. And luckily, he's in a good place right now where there were so many other great things happening, toys he got, that he wasn't like bummed out by any means. But then a couple of days after Christmas, he'd be like, Mario track? Am I getting a Mario track? So finally we get to the last one, show up to my mother-in-law's house. We're getting ready and all the other presents are giving out. And then she comes in with a giant gift, hands over the Mario track, and
she had to have loved this.
Oh, she loved it. She loved every second of it. And I think that was literally the only gift he got at her house because it was a sizable gift. So that was my son's adventure with Christmas this year, getting the Mario track. But I also, with a little bit of a twist, I think it's going to lead into some of what we're going to talk about in Disney news. I also got a random gift. Another friend of the family, Stu. We've talked about Stu before. He's going to come up right now. He helped me with my son's bike issues that we had.
Still waiting on my bike, by the way, Stu.
He's still waiting. Stay on your bike. Yeah, you're gonna wait a little bit longer. He was really excited to get both my wife and I a present that was very reminiscent of another thing we're going to potentially talk a little bit about, which was a Mandalorian helmet.
Ooh.
He was very excited to give this to us.
Like a Mandalorian helmet or like Din Djarin's helmet?
Just it's his helmet. The like Din Djarin.
Din Djarin. Okay.
And so he's so excited. He was, unbeknown to us, he was so excited. So we finally see him, and he's just like downtrodden. So what's wrong, Stu? And he's like, I was so excited to give you this gift, and I ordered it, and it was nothing like the description. So I have it. I have it here. This is the helmet.
Okay.
It's just complete rubber nonsense.
Oh, you have to put it on. You have to put it on for all of our viewing audience. Yeah.
So this is the helmet from The Mandalorian. And
please.
It is not high quality.
So it's
already broken. Like the little mask piece is already broken.
Oh,
but I felt so bad for him. He was so excited to do this gift, and it did not go the way that he planned. And so, thank you, Stu. It is the thought that counts.
I immediately am trying to think of like, what can you do with this mask? Like, can you change your work ID over to you wearing it? Can you wear it? Mm-hmm. If this was still lockdown when we're doing like a bazillion Zoom calls, you could have so much fun with this.
If we do another lockdown, I know I have to go back to working from home.
Yeah.
I need to definitely pull this out on one of them. Yeah. But it's
don't say if. Please, let's never do that again.
No, don't say it. I think England, I think the UK just did that, but whatever.
They did. England and Scotland.
But Eddie, let's stop talking about that. Let's talk about two things that dropped. The last episode of The Mandalorian and another. We'll get to the other Disney thing. Eddie, how much of the rest of our show we don't care about spoilers at all because these movies have been out for 20 years, 20, 30 years. Should we set some ground rules before we talk just briefly about The Mandalorian? Or
there's no way to talk about it without giving spoilers. So if you've not finished season 2 of The Mandalorian, skip ahead at minimum 5 minutes.
At what point? Okay, Eddie.
You have been warned.
You've been warned. Eddie.
Skip ahead. If you don't want a spoiler, skip ahead. Do it now. Skip.
At what point did you know?
The second the X-Wing flew in.
You knew it was Luke.
The X-Wing flew in.
I thought there was a chance it could have been Rey.
But
then I forgot that that's not the right timeline.
It's not the right order. No, I was screaming all sorts of things at the TV. We will not review everything that I was screaming. And Sarah's like, "What? I'm like, "It's Luke. It's Luke. Luke is coming. This is Luke." Yeah. And I mean,
The Luke is coming.
I mean, I sat up. I'm on the edge. I'm like jumping up, sitting down. I couldn't contain myself. And the moment you see hooded shroud and the black glove and that green lightsaber. Because as a kid, Return of the Jedi was always my favorite of the three. And I don't know why, but it was. Like, I think looking back, I agree with so many people that Empire might be the strongest of the three, but as a kid,
young Eddie.
I just loved of Luke in the third one. And I'll be honest, I think that is where the sequel trilogy just hasn't set well with me, and it's like
you are on team they destroyed the Luke you wanted to see.
Right. So when I first watched it, I tried to go, okay, maybe they're trying, and I'm like, I'm trying to believe in you.
This is therapy right now.
It really is. Let me
do you need to lay down for this?
I tried to love it, but what I loved so much about Luke was that he was this optimistic character. that he saw the good in his father and like fought to bring it back out of him. And so you get the craziness of The Last Jedi, and it was just like, no, thank you. So this moment here, hashtag thank you, John and Dave. I don't know if did you see that going around Twitter?
What are they
and Instagram?
Talking about? Oh, these are all the people that were mad.
And it was started by Mark Hamill himself. I don't know if it was started, but at least he was the one that blew it up. Because he started hashtag, like, because he was very vocal. Like, he doesn't like the sequel trilogy. Like, Luke Skywalker himself doesn't like it. So this moment of just having Luke in all of his glory, just destroy at it, just destroy all those dark troopers. It was masterful. I loved it. And I mean, even beyond that, it was a great episode even before he showed up. Because I mean, you had Din Djarin kind of have his big fight.
The Darksaber that's right in front of Grogu, and you're like,
what's going to happen?
Don't touch him.
Just, I mean, the second season, I loved the first one, but the second season, it was like double. It was an exponential growth in quality. And then you top it off with Luke showing up. I mean, I have gone back and watched that sequence from X-Wing's arrival till the end of the episode at least a half a dozen times since it came out. Just got to watch that.
I wish I could have been there with you, Eddie, just to bask in your joy. In that
I was losing it. I was. Sarah at one moment's like looking over at me like,
walking away slowly.
This is cool, but you may be overreacting.
You might have a lot invested.
What did you think of this?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. I need to go back and rewatch that whole sequence. It was also very sad because you realize this is the end for this chapter of with Grogu, with Baby Yoda.
Which Jon Favreau officially came out and said, you can call him either. It's okay. You can call him Grogu or you can still call him Baby Yoda.
Thank you. I don't need your permission to call him whatever I want to. Well, thank you for that.
But he created the character, so, you know.
Okay, fine, whatever.
I don't need your permission.
I don't need your permission to call him whatever I want to. Anyways, it was sad in the moment where he lifts his helmet off and he says goodbye to him one last time. It was sad. There's no chance that we're not going to see him again. Like, we will see Baby Yoda again at some point, and maybe a really amazing version of him who's honed his skills and everything. And also the series is left off in a good place where now you know what the next chapter is. The next series is, the next chapters are going to be about them taking back Mandalore, and at what point is he going to have to fight to keep the sword or not, or how is that all going to play out? It's so intriguing. I'm excited. I'm just sad that I have to wait till next Christmas to be able to get it.
I think even later. I think they pushed it back because next Christmas we get the Book of Boba Fett, which was another announcement at the end.
Great post credits sequence.
Yes. And so they're going to push season 3 of The Mandalorian back even further because of that.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely good.
Yep. So I don't think we will see Luke again. I think that was it. And I'm okay with that. I think that's good.
That's fine.
Just, you gave us that moment. That's all we need. And let's move on. So yeah, such a good show. If you haven't gone back and watched the Disney Gallery, they did a making of season 2. And
didn't know Robert Rodriguez was involved.
Yeah,
that was great. That was a good little, and he was in a great episode too.
And he's taking an entire one of the Star Wars series. Which one is he taking? I can't remember. I think he's taking the Boba Fett one. Yeah,
interesting. Maybe that's why they had him do that. And he
directed that episode. Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to go on and be the showrunner for the Boba Fett series, which will be pretty cool.
That will be great.
Yeah.
Another thing that dropped on Christmas Day was
on Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus was the new Pixar movie Soul, which got pushed back and back and back till eventually being released on directly to Disney Plus.
Yep. Directed by Pete Docter, who previously had done Monsters Inc., Up, Inside Out.
Many of the classics.
Many of the classics. This was a fantastic movie. Wow. It was beautiful. Uh-oh. You didn't like it?
No, I did not like this
movie.
The music itself, great. One off on its own, great. I just wanted to make sure to get that out there first. I honestly would rather talk about this and talk about Adventure of Huck Finn, because I don't understand why it's getting a 97% Rotten Tomato. It's absurd. I cannot be farther away from this. You're completely shocked. I wish my wife was in here, because she also agrees with me. But what is it? I would love for your treatise on this movie. What resonated with you? What worked, because it did not.
Well, so I go back to I think it's Brad Bird who has said like multiple times that animation is a medium and not a genre. And that animation as a medium allows certain stories to be told that just couldn't be told in any other medium. And I loved the use of animation in this to explore rather abstract existential concepts.
Very abstract, yep.
And I appreciated to a certain degree how this was. I don't think they were trying to keep it at a kid's level or go. They just.
I definitely felt this was not a kid's movie.
They just told the story, and I think that's one of the things that I enjoyed about it is it was such a unique and original story. That I love it when I can sit and watch a movie and not know where they're going. Like I don't, my brain naturally is just trying to like guess and see and figure out where it's going to go. And this one was just that just wasn't there. Like I was just on the ride enjoying it. And yeah, I thought it was a brilliant exploration of purpose. Of what it is that, more or less, what is life about?
What do you think they were saying? What do you think they were saying life was about?
I don't think that they were giving a specific answer to it. I think the major thing that they were trying to say was life, the purpose of life is not what you accomplish in it. It's what you do with it. It's not about what you achieve or the success you gain. It's what and who do you spend your life with?
So I felt it was scattered. The majority, the path that he took from about to get what he wants, then immediately, quote unquote, dying or whatever it is in the hospital,
which was one of the funniest sequences, because if you saw the trailer, you knew like, okay, he's got to die here soon. And that whole sequence of
he's barely missing. It's the whole
so many things
barely missing that. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah. The tropes there were great.
So then he's on this conveyor belt going to the afterlife, and then he's fighting the afterlife. Then somehow he pushes through and gets to the pre-life, which I don't know why those two things are like directly next door to each other, that they're like right next to each other. Then there's these creatures, Terry and Gary, and I don't know, or Terry and whoever, and half of them have all the same name, but there's one that doesn't have the same name. He's like checking all the people going to the afterlife. What is his, like, why is that his job to do that? Then he's got to go rectify it, and then he accidentally almost kills one person and comes back. Then he's now trying to be a mentor, but the kid doesn't want him to be a mentor. And then he gets thrown into the real world again. And then he's in the cat, she's in his body. Like, how does that all work? Like, there was so many random twists, turns, corners. I could never get a read on this film. I could not get a rhythm, no pun intended, for this film, where it would go from the afterlife back to real life. Then he's in the cat, and then she's in him, and then it's back, and there's Gary and there's Terry, and I don't know what they're supposed to be doing. I don't know what their roles are. Why are they now suddenly able to cross over into the real life? And then we're kind of headed towards this climax, and they got the student, and the student like randomly shows up to the house, and she out of nowhere, but then she's like, I'm quitting. Oh, but let me play this one thing. Oh, never mind. I'm good. I'm like, what was that all about? It didn't. So when it comes to that final big moment, I didn't feel much of anything. And I didn't cry. I didn't feel that warm sense inside. It's just done. He gets what he wants, and then he realizes it wasn't enough, and really he should have been should he have been living his life and not been obsessed with jazz? Is that he wasn't really living his life? Like, there was it was a mess. It was a mess.
I totally disagree with you. I think one of my favorite parts about this is that section where they come back and he's in the cat and 22 is in his body, and you go through those kind of key scene moments, right? What are the three biggest aspects of his life? He has his students, which, you've got Carla, who shows up for her trombone lesson. And like a typical middle schooler is just so up and down, hot and cold. And you just kind of have that moment of like, he's missed these opportunities to see like he's impacting the future in his students, which he's already gotten that from the drummer, right? The drummer was the one who was a former student who gave him this opportunity. The other key aspect of life is his community, the people around him. And that scene in the barber shop, like, I love that moment where he walks in, and right before he goes in, he's like, I don't know, we always talk about jazz. And just the way that the 22 inside of his body has this way of interacting with the barber in a new way, helps him see his community around him like he had never seen them before and interact with them. And then the third kind of biggest part of his life that he hadn't seen before is his family, right? And that moment with his mom as she's custom tailoring the suit to him and everything. I absolutely loved how they just kind of teased out, just gave him a new perspective on his own life. It was very much like It's a Wonderful Life type moment, right? Of helping you see what is right in front of you. The fact that getting to be a famous jazz person, and you were so focused on being a famous jazz musician, made you miss what truly gives your life significance. And what truly gives your life significance is the people that you surround yourself, the people that you let into your life, that you live your life with. And I think that was that big moment that for me, that big reveal, like right as 22 gets her little earth pass and wants to go down, but then there's all the complications from it. Like, I felt that emotion so much. And I appreciated kind of the back and the forth between the two worlds to kind of help highlight that and bring that out even more.
That sounds great when you summarize it all together, but the experience through that was not.
It was
that.
beautiful.
No,
it was amazing.
No,
the experience through
it was a mess. It was clunky. We were tripping over ourselves the entire way through.
No, your so
summary,
wrong. You are so
Eddie,
wrong.
Your summary was more emotional than actually watching it play out on the screen.
No, see,
it was way better the way that every time I hear someone summarize it, it sounds way better than the experience to get there. And that's been my overall
I loved how both worlds had a distinct art style and a distinct even sound. Like, you go and get 9-inch nails to do the music for the pre-world, pre-soul period, and then you get John Baptiste and like these amazing jazz artists to do all of the, you know, the on earth music. And just the comparison between those two, I absolutely loved it. And I don't know, I felt like I had enough time in the real world and enough time in the pre-soul world, and just the way that they just went back and forth helped highlight either world and what the things that they were trying to communicate through both of those. I couldn't disagree with you more.
Literally, I've never been farther apart with you on any movie ever. I honestly don't think I don't think there's a farther corner that I could stick my flag into.
see, and I think this was breaking new ground for Pixar. Like, this was just like in a separate category for them. Like, they just did something so unique and beautiful that it's in a different category. Like, I honestly, you wait. I think it'll get in the Best Picture category nomination. It'll be the
Zero.
third. It'll be number 3.
Please no.
It's up there with Beauty and the Beast and Up. It'll get in the third. It'll be number 3 animated film to be nominated for Best Picture.
If this movie gets nominated for an Academy, if it
proves how wrong you are.
No, because there's been so many bad movies. Like, if there's one thing that you would not want to stick your flag into, it's the Oscars being the best way to figure out what the best movie of that year is. It's the least. I think worst way to find out what the best movie of the year is.
Yeah,
it's the worst way. And it actually, you know what? It probably will get.
I'm not agreeing with. I'm not disagreeing with you on the whole Oscars thing, but it will. It'll. I think it is striking such an interesting chord, and for it to come out in this time, where I think one of the things that a lot of people learned through lockdowns, through the pandemic, and everything, is the people that we live our lives with is what is most important. And you see that just kind of told so beautifully here in this.
If that's really the case, though, then why is his vision, that whole silent sequence at the end, it's images of leaves and trees and little tiny things, and most of them are not people. So they're right there. Your hypothesis is not even correct of why.
Like when he's out on the piano?
When he's like having that moment where it's like, it's not the piano music, it's all the things. It's like just breathing. It's like breathing and leaves and sunlight. It's not even people that he's visioning there. It's just
those are the things that ground him. Those are the things that help him slow down to see what's happening.
It's just a ethereal, like, I got to use my hands as much as if I have to use my hands to describe.
Or play jazz.
That's what I'm saying. What you said was so good. So, like, summarizing this great emotion. I'm like, that would be great, but that's not what he was even dreaming of in the end when he was having that final moment. It was nature. It was nature. What? That's what we're getting from this is just, it felt like what we really need to all do is just live. Yours sounds better. I would be more in tune with wanting a movie about that. I was like, no, it's about the people instead of stuff, but it's not. That's not even what he's dreaming of it. And that's not what this podcast is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about soul, but I've been dying to talk about this.
I think what's so funny is we ended up watching it, I think on the same day, because we ended up texting each other. And you immediately text me.
We have to talk about this.
We have to talk about this. And I text back like, of course, I can't believe we're thinking this at the same time. But I had no idea you were thinking
that it was completely
different.
I've never been farther apart with you.
I have walked around for the past week going, have you seen the new Pixar movie? have you seen
So have
Soul?
I. And
you've got to see this.
Finding a lot of people felt the same way that I did. So
what?
The 97% is ridiculous. And I hope no.
Is the 97% the audience or the critics?
That's Rotten Tomato.
Well, I mean, the
audience is high too. The audience is high too.
So you really are wrong.
No, I'm not. I will. I don't even want to watch it again. I don't want to watch it again to figure out if I am wrong.
Yeah, 95 for the tomato meter, and then 89 for the audience score.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I don't know what it was.
You're just so wrong. It's
now
so
I don't
good.
even feel like. Now I don't even feel like doing this. But just kidding.
I thought it was so good. I loved it. It's been such a long time since a movie just swept me away like that. Loved it. And we've been listening to the soundtrack nonstop ever since.
I'm happy
that you can't argue with. Like, it was.
That was great. That's why I opened up. That's why that's the first thing I said. The music. It's great.
Yeah. And I mean, to have the juxtaposition between 9 Inch Nails guys and John Baptiste, like, there were so many just things like that where it was artistry at its finest.
Well, now it is time for us to actually talk about the movie we were supposed to be talking about.
Enjoy the awkward silence, everybody.
Enjoy the awkward silence and enjoy the 5 minutes we were going to spend on Huck Finn.
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
Eddie, I'm trying to set this up for you to do the cue, to do your cue. It's your turn to do the cue.
Yeah, but it's not how you. Okay, all right. I'm ready now.
So please journey with us down the river as we finally talk about the adventures of Huck Finn.
Cue the Disney-ish sound effects.
Oh, Eddie, if we had any of you listeners, they are all gone now.
They're all left us.
They're all gone now.
Even our friends have left us.
Even our friends have left us. IMDb. I'm not using the wacky voice. I know what I have in here. In Missouri during the 1840s, young Huck Finn, fearful of his drunkard father and yearning for adventure, leaves his foster family and joins with the runaway slave Jim in a voyage down the Mississippi River towards slavery-free states. Basically it. You don't need to even watch the movie now because you now know the synopsis of this film.
Let me just lead with this. I know that this is something that is commonly said of book adaptations, but read the book. The book just
The book
works.
is way better.
Well, I mean, the book is arguably, I don't know, top 10, some top list of American literature. It's considered one of the first great American literature classics because it's the first to use the vernacular, to use kind of a unique American situation. Can you remember what grade we were in when we read the book? I can't remember if
Mrs. Berkey.
Yeah,
was our teacher.
It was 5th grade then.
No, this was actually
junior high.
In junior high.
Okay.
When we read this is one of the same years, if not the year after, maybe, of reading The Giver. It was that same time frame.
Yeah.
So,
shout out to Mrs. Berkey, by the way, somebody who gave me such a love for reading fiction and different books. She was an amazing teacher. Yeah, I don't remember. I remember seeing this movie maybe once, but I really don't remember watching this movie a lot as a kid. Do you?
Nope. Very little, if any. Most of what I remembered from this was, I think I remember that part from the book.
Yeah.
I'm reading that in English class.
Yeah, the book is definitely far more impactful in my memory, because there was even a few moments where I'm like, yeah, that's not how it went in the book. That's just...
I was actually surprised that with all the fact that Aladdin got a cultural warning before the movie. I was very surprised. This said no cultural warning with all of the racism and with all of the stuff in it.
All we get warned about is that tobacco is used in it.
This is still inside of the tobacco years. The tobacco decade.
No, I'm shocked, honestly, that this was the first Twain to get adapted. It took them another few years until Tom and Huck comes along, where they really ruin the novel. But that's borrowing from a future podcast episode. This was interesting that Disney made this, and it was a big hit. It was a big hit for them. This is kind of what pushed them into adapting other pieces of literature like this.
This is Elijah Wood. Is this his?
It's not his
first
debut. One? His film debut was actually Back to the Future Part 2. And he was in a couple of other big movies right before this, like Radio Flyer, if you've ever seen that. That's a really good movie.
This had to be one of the biggest ones he was in.
This is the first time he led a movie.
Movie.
And you see immediately, right? Like, let's just talk Elijah Wood here for a moment.
Yeah, can we just geek about Elijah Wood for the rest of this time?
Okay. He's a fine, good actor. He's a good actor because
he's got a good head on his shoulders.
There's a lot of kids in this movie that you're like, yeah, no, you should not be an actor. You should not be doing. There's even a few adult characters in this movie where you're like, why are you? This is some bad acting. And Elijah Wood holds it. He leads it. He carries the whole film in an incredible way.
Did you, while we're talking about Elijah Wood, Lord of the Rings, did you enjoy the Lord of the Rings? Deep Impact.
One of his greatest movies.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I was going to say we've been having some disagreements here on movies. If you go against,
I'm not saying anything bad about Deep Impact.
I'm a little on edge.
I was going to say,
forgive me. I'm a little testy.
With Elijah Wood in this, a little bit of Lord of the Rings, we've also get a Harry Potter crossover.
So talk about great acting in this.
Command the moment. Robbie
Coltrane he's a treasure. He's a fine.
Who plays Hagrid in the Harry Potter series?
Him, they're not brothers. I think they're just kind of con artist partners. The King and the Duke. By far, this is the moment when the movie finally picks up. Like, okay, like it carries it. And you kind of get that in the book as well. I think in the book, each kind of episode holds its own more than it does in the movie. But definitely here in the movie, you get these two con artists and they're going, that moment on the dock when they show up as the dead doctor's brothers from England is hilarious. When he does the sign language to Robbie Coltrane, and it's just obvious that this is awful. I thought that was hilarious. And then I think one of my favorite moments is when this guy off to the side is fighting with another guy, and he's like, wait a second, you're not. And boom, he gets stabbed. And then the sheriff turns around and shoots the guy who stabbed him. And he looks at the brothers and he says, welcome to America. It was classic. It was so good.
So back on, I know we went down that rabbit trail, back on Elijah Wood.
Thank you. Thank you for entertaining me there.
I appreciate
it. Now that Eddie's done rambling about
I opened the door. So I wanted to give you your platform to speak.
You didn't love it. You love a good America line. Come on.
Oh, well, I love that stuff. no. But I didn't want to leave. We were venturing.
You don't want to
enough.
leave Elijah Wood.
Don't want to leave Elijah Wood because there's so many really deep, like, themes in this. There's so many dark, like, adult stuff in this with slavery and racism and class warfare and abuse and infighting families. This is heavy, heavy film at times. Just the sheer the very quickly in with Ron Perlman as Pap Finn. Takes and he's trying to literally kill his own son in a drunken stupor.
Yeah.
And then he dies very quickly after that in on the boat or whatever. It gets dark really quickly for quote unquote kids Disney film.
No, and I think that is what I've always loved reading Twain, because he has a way of dealing with some pretty significant topics, but it's as you're going through it, you don't necessarily feel all the weight of the topic.
Because you're looking through his eyes too. That helps.
He has a way of structuring story where the adventure, the lightheartedness of the main characters, help you process the heavy thing that you're going through, the heavy topic that he's dealing with, and you come out dealing with the topic better because of it. Because I think sometimes when we get a heavy topic thrust upon us, we just the breath is taken away from us. We step back and we don't really deal with it. We really don't process it. And he disarms us with the kind of the adventure and the lightheartedness of Huck to allow us to journey through, like you said, very deep, dark issues, and face them. And actually, you know, Huck's got to deal with them. All of the characters around him have to. And I think as the reader or the watcher or the viewer, you have to do so as well. And Elijah Wood does a fantastic job portraying the character of Huck Finn. That's not an easy character to do.
It's interesting. And it comes down to the source material itself, because even if we talk about this film, when you're really talking about Mark Twain's writing, he really allows Huck Finn to almost like say some things that you're like, wow, like in a modern day movie, you would never be able to say some of the things that it's like, yeah, you will, you know what? I just need to turn you in. Like, that's just what you're going to have to deal with. And then he does it. And then he sees him being abused. And then he's like, wait, I did the wrong thing. I didn't know what I was doing. We need to go now. Like, he let him do the wrong thing and see some really disastrous results and then have to bring back. Or when he's going over to turn him in to the other barge owner or whatever. And he then makes the decision that, oh no, this isn't what I need to be doing. Like that's just not seen as much in stories. It's like, no, you don't get to make the bad decision.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think this is a story that, I don't know, helps people process, helps people kind of.
There's a lot of processing.
Yeah, and to see that we are a product of the time in which we live in, and that mistakes are made, poor, morally apprehensible views are held, and to change them is harder than you think sometimes. Not to say, and I love the kind of the line in there of just like, just because it's a majority opinion doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
And I think I think literature has a significant way of helping people be introduced to ideas. I know Huck Finn was definitely a significant piece of literature to introduce me to the issues of slavery and the sins of our country in those areas. Much like, you know, I think back to, I mean, we're talking Mrs. Berkey as well, Numbering the Stars. and how that was an introduction for me into the Holocaust and the tragedy of that. There's something about literature, especially literature that is the protagonist being a younger person being faced with these significant issues, that just helps process, be introduced, but also process it.
So those are the good parts of this film.
I don't know. Us on track.
I don't know what else I felt super positively about.
Yeah, I walked away going, really? This was a big success for Disney? Okay.
No. Yeah.
It is here's how the book is okay, so here's what I was thinking. It's a little bit like the adaptation of The Hobbit, in that the book The Hobbit and the book Huck Finn are very episodic tales.
Yes, that would be true.
And when you try and pull them together, it just doesn't.
Starts to fall apart.
Yeah, they're not meant to be cinematic or to be a movie like this.
They're little scenes inside of it. It's him and his dad, and then having to get away from his dad. Okay, then we move on. Then we move to the next town, and then it's like every town you go to has a new beast to fight, a new boss to beat, and then you get captured, and then you go over here, and then even now you're in a new house, and then you have to navigate that whole world, and then you go to the next place, and the next place, and yeah, it is hard to make that a one succinct. I'm taking this here.
Yeah, and to go back to my analogy between the two books, I think that's what is missed in both of these is the tale of the journey. One of the things that I love so much about The Hobbit is the traveling, and the things that happen with the dwarfs and Bilbo while they're traveling. And one of the things, probably my favorite thing about the book, right, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, is the adventure on the river. Because you got to remember, like, my whole family is from right there. I grew up spending my summers with my grandpa on the Mississippi River, in this whole area, and it was just, as I read it, it just engaged so much of my imagination of the travel down the river. Like, when I think back on the book, like, yes, I think on those kind of episodic moments that happen, but also the interaction and the conversations that Huck and Jim have going down the river. Like, I get to the end of the movie and I don't feel like Jim and Huck are as close as they're saying they are. But in the book, you do, because so much of the book is just the two of them talking on the raft as they're going down the river. And that kind of adventure of them going down the river is totally missing from this.
I would agree. Other than what we said about the themes of it, for the most part, I was basically ready for this movie to be over the whole time I was watching. I was like,
yeah, I would agree.
I'm not totally bought in. I'm not totally feeling it. I think I skipped ahead a few things where I was just like, yeah, I'm done with these characters. If I skip another 10 minutes, I will find a different adventure that might pique my interest, and then that one didn't. So
yeah, if you didn't have the Duke and the King at the end, I think this would have just, like, I don't know if I would have made it to the end.
We wouldn't have made it down the river, Eddie.
Wouldn't have made it down the river. So fruit snack rating. How many fruit snacks?
I was giving it a 1.
I'd agree. I'll give it a 1.
I don't know that I want to even give it more thought than that. Like I said, we were more passionate about talking about Soul than we were about this film that felt like a chore watching.
Do you think they would even make this movie in 2020?
No.
I don't even think it gets off the page.
It's too
tricky.
You can't. Well, what we've seen is over and over again, if you're going to make a movie about slavery, they mostly make it from the slave's perspective or from the African-American perspective. It's not usually following a sympathetic white hero anymore. Mm-hmm. Most of them are that. There's occasional, there's like Free State of Jones, I think was one recently that came out. But it's hard. It's I don't know what kind of a budget they would even give something like this, because you got to be either really indie grassroots movie, or you have to be, which a lot of the slavery movies are, 12 Years a Slave, etc. Or you have to be massive, epic scale, and I don't know where this would fit in between those two.
Yeah. And I think in general, a lot of people struggle, even a lot of Twain's work. It still holds up, but people don't know how to interact with it just because he is so honest with what the moment looked like, specifically even the use of language and choosing to keep certain words. I know that is something that is in literature classes, something that is struggled with, let alone whether or not we make a movie out of it.
Yep.
Any tips?
Parenting tips from this: don't try to kill your kids. It's probably a bad idea.
Yes, it is. And you see the importance of good foster parents, for sure.
So they come to save the day at the very, very end.
Save the day. Good old ladies coming in.
Good old ladies.
So we struggled to come up with a question for this movie, and I think we really need to have a question about this episode in general. I think we should just toss it out to those who never answer our poll questions. Which side are you on? Do you agree with me, or are you wrong?
Do you have
agree
no
with
soul?
JB?
Are you?
Do you have no soul with like JB has no soul, or do you have a soul like I do and enjoyed the movie Soul?
Yeah, because we really don't have any questions that we really care to talk about Adventures of Huck Finn. But with that, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Soul, also featuring the Adventures of Huck Finn. Please subscribe wherever you get podcasts at. Eddie, what is going to be our next film that we're going to be reviewing?
Hocus Pocus.
Ooh, this is going to be fun. A little sad we're not doing this during the middle of in October. That'd be even better. But it's still great. It's still a good watch. So thank you for listening.